Today we're going to be chatting about the August Beauty Heroes box featuring Josh Rosebrook. So today's video is going to be an opportunity not only for me to talk about these products, it's a new product launch from Josh Rosebrook, but it's going to be an opportunity to do some deeper skincare industry critical thinking, let's say. I think it's a really good opportunity to do so given some recent online dynamics. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll explain very briefly, but I did also talk about this in a podcast episode. Sorry that I'm a little bit late getting this up to you. I'm sorry that you haven't been seeing so much of me here on YouTube. I don't know, the summer has just been tough. I think that wedding planning has really kind of set me over the edge in a way that I didn't necessarily expect it to. But I've been trying, well, I should say, let's talk about what's in the box, because I have extensive experience with two of the products and one of them was brand new. The Daily Acid Toner, which is a brightening facial toner, is just released, brand new product. And then the two sidekicks in the box are a 1 fluid ounce bottle of the tinted version of the Nutrient Day Cream, and of course everybody's favorite Hydrating Accelerator. So this is now the 5th time that Josh Rosebrook has been featured in a Beauty Heroes box. Obviously a very established brand, a very established partnership. I have reviewed, I think, all of those boxes. I'll include every Josh Rosebrook review that I've done before, and in fact I've done demo videos of the Nutrient Day Cream, although I think I did a demo video applying the untinted one. But the tinted one and the untinted one I don't think are really that different. So I did refresh my memory trying this, so I have a few thoughts that I could share with you on it. And as far as the Daily Acid Toner, this is, as if you know anything about me and my skincare philosophy, I am a black sheep in that I just don't do much exfoliation at all. Over the years, I've tried many different kinds. I know that it's just a very, very popular product, so I can totally understand why a brand would work very hard to formulate an everyday product like this. It's not part of my personal skincare philosophy. If you want to hear about that, I did an hour-long podcast episode many months ago now. It's episode 6 on Your Purpose is Beauty, articulating my current but evolving skincare philosophy. But for the sake of telling you about it and trying this product, I have been testing it every other day for maybe the last week and a half. I went ahead and watched the hour, it was around an hour-long IGTV conversation that Jeannie had with Josh. It was quite informational, mostly about the formulation. I think this took around 2 years to formulate and quite a feat to do so from what it sounded like. The problem with acid toners is it seems that it's difficult to formulate one that's like kind of a one-size-fits-all approach. One that would be good for sensitive skin, one that would, the same one that would also work for people that have, I always want to say like thicker skin, hardier skin, more tolerant skin, or people that desire a more aggressive skincare experience. So that seems to be the main challenge. And Josh basically alluded to the fact that the reason that we don't see more of these kind of products, I think in eco beauty specifically, so sorry about the sun, is that they are very difficult to formulate well and in a way that's going to be as universal as possible. So this is described as an AHA liquid toning treatment. It's meant to resurface, brighten, and soften the skin. So it has a really unique combination of acids and also additional ingredients that I personally have never seen or come across in a formula. So it has malic, citric, tartaric, and glycolic fruit and flower acids. It also has, and this is the part that attracts me the most more than the acids, is the remineralizing component. This comes from plant actives like montmorillonite clay, sea kelp, Irish moss, sodium PCA, and hyaluronic acid. It also has an ingredient called galactorribinone from the larch tree, which is meant to encourage cellular renewal. It also has turmeric, calendula, chamomile, echinacea, and green tea. So that to me is Josh's Herbal foundation that I feel permeates a lot of his brand is also coming through in this. I think this is the final packaging, although I feel like I've seen it maybe in a different packaging. But it comes with this sort of, I don't know exactly what these dispensers are called. It's meant to be dispensed on a cotton round, so I've been testing it on my Marley's Monsters reusable cotton rounds. I've been using these for maybe the last 8 months, and I love them. I'm pretty much fully transitioned off of disposable cotton rounds. So the 3.3 fluid ounce bottle retails for $29, and this is something that Jeannie and Josh talked about on the live. It sounds like he could have absolutely charged more, and I think many people in eco beauty probably would not have batted an eye if this were closer to $50. I think we are accustomed to investing in skincare that we feel is worth it, but it sounds like it was quite an intentional choice on the brand's part to keep this at a pretty affordable price point so that it can be really universally accessible. So I think that that's a real positive aspect. And something else I took from the live conversation between Jeannie and Josh, and it's something that I think a lot about, because in the world of eco beauty and eco beauty reviewing, you see so many people just looking at an ingredient list. And a lot of my favorite brands, I feel, fall prey to people looking at the ingredient list and maybe discounting something because the ingredient list doesn't do it well. There's two directions you can go in this. One is that I'm thinking, for example, a brand like Weis, who doesn't have many kind of like sexy novel actives the way that you would think about them in their formulation. It's just these really pure, extremely potent plant butters and oils which have actives vis-a-vis antioxidants in them, but you're not going to look at it and see kind of these cutting edge peptides, or they do actually have a phytoretinol product with bakuchiol in it. But another example I can think of is Infiore, where a lot of people will look at alcohol on the ingredient list of Infiore products and immediately assume that it's not for them or it's going to be drying. And to those, that kind of commentary, and also to people that would just look at an ingredient list on this and see glycolic acid, oh, well, my skin can't do glycolic acid. That's how I typically feel. My skin generally doesn't react very well to glycolic acid. What Josh explained is that formula is everything, and it's really about this synergy of ingredients that create a product that is more than the sum of its parts. And I think that that's just something to keep in mind in general. And product experience is really everything. So that's why bloggers do what they do, help guide consumers into hopefully making a decision for a consumer to test out for themselves what would make sense. So just so you know where I'm coming from, I would consider myself quite normal skin type with a tendency towards sensitivity and some reactivity. Also a tendency towards surface dehydration, although I think that that's basically everybody for the most part, depending on climate. I tend to veer away from acids. I tend to have tingly reactions along a spectrum to many acid products. I'll tell you the ones that I've tried in recent memory that I have reacted to. Maya Chia, the Refresh, that kind of Hawaiian punch blue gel mask, felt like I was being stabbed with a million tiny needles. Monastery XX, which is a glycolic gel exfoliating product. The Moss Mornings single-use peel pads, which are a combination of 4 or 5 different acids that you wipe over the skin. You wipe the pad over the skin. It's like a leave-on overnight facial type of product. So I've tried all of those recently. I tend to get a stinging needle prick feeling on my skin to a lot of acids. There are ways to mitigate this. Most often it requires putting down some sort of buffer product. Typically an oil will work really well, or mixing an oil into an acid product. Like I typically will mix a little bit of oil into the Monastery XX and use that as a flash mask, so not as a leave-on mask. So the duration of how long you leave it on your skin, even products that are meant to be a leave-on product, I tend to just mask with and rinse off. So my personal skincare philosophy, and I just always have to reiterate this, I will never tell you what to think or what to do. All I'm doing is sharing my skin experience with products and what works for me as I find my way navigating this world of beauty products. Having an acid product that you leave on the skin and that doesn't rinse off, in my opinion, over the long-term, if we're to take a long-term approach to looking at skin health, I think that that's a I personally, and what I have seen and read, don't think that this is in most people's best skin health interests. But that's a very blanket statement, because I think that there absolutely are some skin types that it could be beneficial for. I just know that of all the brands that I feel most attracted to, none of them have exfoliation as a centerpiece of the brand. I think we've been really conditioned to think that we need to exfoliate our skin. And more I'm hearing these what we could consider to be more radical voices in the skincare industry, mostly in the eco skincare world, alternative skincare, that have just a different perspective. So all of that said, I did try this. I used it swiped all over the face, dispensed onto a cotton round after a double cleanse in the evening. So I've only used this at night, and gone on to top it with an evening skincare routine, which for me has been very minimal lately. I've been testing the 3 balms in Earthwise's range. Topic for another day. I cannot derail myself, but all I want to talk about lately is Earthwise. So I'm planning, obviously, to do some content for you around that. I think on Patreon this month I'm going to be doing a full Earthwise skincare routine, from cleansing, steaming, masking, and treatment. Basically an at-home Earthwise facial that I'm doing on myself. So double cleanse, balm, makeup and SPF removal, usually cleansing with some sort of gentle gel or cream cleanser. And then when my skin is very clean, I have been putting a pretty generous amount of this dispensed on the round and swiped all over the face. I will tell you that the experience is exceptionally nice. You know, I don't try a lot of exfoliating toners, and really my main reference point would be the Honua Beauty Water, which is the product that has really become an exception for me in the exfoliating toner world. So I brought it up to perhaps provide a little bit of a point of comparison. So one of the nicest things about this is the smell. It's like an herbal, really elegant, modern rose. I've used the word modern rose to describe the rose that weaves its way through Ranavat, for example. That is more of like a cool, watery rose. This is a traditional rose scent, but with kind of an updated herbal undertone. Look, I mean, I do think it's really nice. It's kind of a light pink color. I mean, it smells like perfume water. The smell and the experience going on is gorgeous. I get very, very, very slight tingle. I would almost consider it to be more of like a warming feeling. So nothing even close to approximating the pinprick type of sensations that I can get from certain acids. So I would go ahead and concur with the way that this is marketed as being okay for sensitive skin. Of course, depending on your own skin, you're going to want to modulate how much you use it. So people that are really used to using an acid and they find that their skin craves that or needs that, which I would say suggests that perhaps you're veering into imbalanced territory. I know other people will disagree with that, but there are also plenty of people that would agree with that. So we just always kind of have to keep these multiple perspectives in mind. There's really not one solid position on what is the right skincare philosophy to have. Some people could use this twice a day, most days of the week. Most people could probably use it every day if they felt like they wanted to. If you're more sensitive or reactive, or you're like me and you just feel like you don't really need an acid exfoliator in your routine, you could use it two to 3 times a week. So I will say I feel like it's been a very nice enhancement to my routine. I don't feel that it has been an earth-shattering product, but I will say that it's something that I think your skin needs a little bit of time to adjust to and get used to processing the ingredients to really get a discernible impact, if that makes sense. And again, because of the other things that I test and what wonderful success I've been having, in particular with the balms in Earthwise Beauty's range, which from a very different mechanism exfoliate the skin, but again in a very different way than something like this. I do think that I could reliably recommend this to someone that would be interested in an acid toner that could be very gentle and good for sensitive skin. The high points for me are really the price, the accessibility. I think the formulation does live up to what it sounds like went into it, and if you are into this type of product, I think it's absolutely worth trying. Now, with all of that said, I personally think I do still slightly prefer the Honua Hawaiian Beauty Water. So I pulled just a couple of specs on this just as a point of comparison. So this 2 fluid ounce bottle retails for $24, and again the 3.3 fluid ounce of the Josh Rosebrook Daily Acid Toner retails for $29. So obviously this is a more affordable product. Now the Honua is a combination of AHA, BHAs, and enzymes. So it's sort of a triple exfoliation. Mainly it has papaya enzymes, which my skin personally likes, although I have also had very bad reactions to papaya enzymes in certain formulation, which just goes to show that formulation and concentration is everything, because my skin responds really well to this. It also has hibiscus, which is an antioxidant, and apparently also has AHA acid qualities. So this is something that I feel quite aligned with. When an ingredient mimics a synthetic, I guess you could say, through a plant pathway. So this is why, I mean, we can question the use of phytoretinols. A lot of people will say, oh, there is no such thing as a phytoretinol. Like, they don't even do the same thing. But they can have a similar impact on the skin. Hibiscus is going to have a similar but not identical effect to an AHA exfoliant, but via a different pathway. This is appealing to me because I just like plant-based ingredients in my skincare, I guess. And I'm certainly not opposed to synthetics or technology in skincare. For example, I think Ayuna and the Infiore Made in Japan lines are such a beautiful example of infusing green technology into eco-luxury skincare. So anyway, this also has aloe vera, willow bark, recommended to be used 1 to 5 times per week depending on your skin, whether it's sensitive or dry. I used this really consistently when I was doing my 24 days of Consawand project, and I think in conjunction with doing the Consawand every day, I was using this to wipe down my face maybe every other day, and I got a really good result. It really helped eradicate some of my jawline congestion. And so the real test would be to use this in the same way. I'm actually thinking about doing another, how have I already been talking for 22 minutes? What is wrong with me? I'm thinking about doing another 24 days of Consawand project, or a month-long Consawand project for September. Just kind of like, I don't know, September to me is always back to school. I think a lot of us have that association. It's kind of a really nice fresh start. Let's start a new season. So I think I'm going to do a month-long September Consawand project, and I may put this to the test in the same way that I had utilized this. So we'll see. Or my skin could just be so happy with the Earthwise products that I'm using, which has really been, I really am struggling to use other stuff. I'll be perfectly honest with you. So, you know, just stay tuned for my upcoming Earthwise content, because I'm going to have a lot. Let's quickly talk about the other products, because I still want to tell you about this other side of this brand that I have experienced recently. So the Josh Rosebrook Nutrient Day Cream, a lot of people have tried this at this point. I think a lot of people really like it. The tinted one, I've always enjoyed using it, but it's always been a product that I've never really felt compelled to buy on my own. So I've tested it a lot via PR over the years, because it shows up in a lot of boxes quite frequently. So it leaves the skin with a very, the best way I can describe it is like a translucent finish, and very moisturized and dewy. You know how a lot of eco mineral tinted products, you can almost feel the powdery pigment in them? It's not necessarily a bad thing, but for example, Honua Malu is like that. Kjaer 365, they have almost like a heftier consistency where you can feel the powder. Now this is not, again, it's not bad, because I love, for example, the Earthwise Farizad's Veil Sun Protector, which is just a powder that you mix into a balm or an oil. So I sometimes really like that sedimenty feel, but this doesn't have any of that. So it's very, very smooth. It's very moisturizing, and it leaves the skin with like this translucent halo on it, is kind of the best way I can describe it. If you're using the appropriate amount, which Josh has described as a 1/4 teaspoon, that's probably 3 to 4 pumps. It's a very similar issue that you're going to run into with, in particular, the reformulation of Ayuna Velo, which is you're going to probably have some pilling. Now, I don't experience pilling very much at all with products in my routine. Pilling just means that when you're applying the product, it starts to ball up. If you've never experienced this, it's hard to describe, but once you do, you'll know exactly what it is. You just start getting like little balls of product on your face. And generally my understanding of what that is are binders and emulsifiers or gums that are in cream products like this. Start interacting with anything that's water-based and has been put down on the skin before. A hyaluronic acid serum, a water-based aloe type of serum can all interact. And in fact, the very first time I ever experienced product pilling was with Josh Rosebrook Nutrient Day Cream on top of Jordan Samuel Hydrate. So they used to, I don't use that combo anymore, but that combo of products pilled very significantly on me. I tried this a couple of times just to refresh myself for this review, and I did get a little bit of pilling, just as I don't even remember exactly what I was wearing on my skin, but my morning skincare routine has been really consistent for many months now. I alternate between several different things in the morning, either Lil Fox Hotzi, Earthwise Ambrosia Dew Cerrado, or a layering of either the Votary peptide product that's in the recent Box Swallow box, or the Pie Sea Aster and Oat Cream with Earthwise Nap in the Meadow on top. That's a very therapeutic essential oil heavy product, so I need a little bit of a buffer to use it. So my morning skincare is one of those three things. I kind of alternate every third day. I can't remember what this went on top of, but it went on at least 2 of those combinations and pilled quite moderately, but it did pill. So important to keep in mind, and I had done an Instagram post on how to mitigate the pilling of Iunavello, which the more product you use, the more it's going to have a tendency to pill. And I got this tip actually from someone that either DM'd or commented on Instagram, that the way they mitigate the Iunavello pilling is once they spread out the appropriate amount, they do just like a spritz of a toner or a hydrosol, and then they pre-mix the product in their hand and apply. Something about that with that particular formula helps move the emulsion along. So it can get a little complicated. You know, all of these products there's a bit of gymnastics that goes into really cleanly, I don't really like using that word, but creating a water-based eco beauty cream type of product according to this like very strict or rigorous set of specifications is very challenging to do. So that's kind of, I guess, what I have to say about this. I haven't necessarily heard how this aligns across skin types. Again, I'm normal and I find it to be quite a moisturized finish on me. So if you're oily, I would actually be curious what you think about this, because as a normal skin type, I find it to be really quite moisturizing. So I would imagine if you are a dry skin type and you want something that's a little bit lighter weight on the skin than something like Suntegrity or Velo, which have a heavier feel on the skin, more of like that protective sense, you know what I mean? I don't want to say mask-like because they're not, but yeah, they just feel differently on the skin. So this is pretty lightweight. It wears really well throughout the day. And then Hydrating Accelerator, I actually saw quite a few people commenting that they kind of were overseeing this in the box. It does tend to get added to a lot of Josh Rosebrook boxes. I think it's kind of a quintessential green beauty product. There's not much to not like about it unless you don't like the scent. Very much on the fringe, I've heard people say that they don't care for it or they don't find it hydrating, but for the most part, I think it's a pretty beloved and universally used product. This travel size is nice, but it's not like anyone is really doing much travel. Throw it in your bag and have it on the go to close out summer. Okay, enough about the products. I really want to just, I don't want to go on for too much longer, but I do feel compelled to share this if you haven't already caught it on the podcast. And this is something that I have been noticing from Josh Rosebrook, I don't know, maybe over the last year or so. Let me just say, I guess, what happened. He posted in the beginning of July something on his Instagram that was a repost from an account called the Eco Well. It was a repost about why parabens came to be villainized and why we ought to be reconsidering them based on what the science actually says about them. And then basically said, like, don't fight about this, like, you have to face this, like, it's your duty to face the science. And of course he predictably got quite a bit of pushback. I commented initially on the post saying I thought it was interesting timing, because at the time he posted this, the European Chemicals Agency had just ruled to phase out butylparaben over a several year period and replace it with an alternative product in EU formulation, I think. So I found it kind of interesting timing that right after that he would post this. He never responded to that. The EcoWell jumped in and said a bunch of stuff that I frankly think is garbage. I have always considered Josh to be a leader in green beauty. I've met him in person before. I've reviewed his products really extensively, and I just feel like he's engaging in behavior that is really problematic in a lot of ways. And so I definitely got in a bit of a reactionary mode. I left another comment on his page. I basically accused him of pandering to his online clique of people, and he responded with a lot of vitriol, which to some extent I can kind of understand. I'm not going to fight with him online. I'm not hurt by what he said. I don't really take it personally. He kind of had a point that I shouldn't go on his page and, you know, demand that he do something. But it was really born out of this broader frustration I have that he's giving a platform to this account, EcoWell, who, okay, so let's just come out and say this person, in addition to a lot of other people that seem to be coming out of Canada, which I think is something that we need to pay attention to, but also it's just part of this broader science mongering agenda that's going on. If you want to learn more about those dynamics, my friend Marie from And the Color Green has a platform on Instagram called Green Beauty Theory, where she breaks down a lot of these tactics and strategies online. And I so clearly feel that the EcoWell, and there's many other accounts we could lump into here, are clear forms of agenda pushing and manipulation. I don't know if the directive is coming out of industry, for example, cosmetics formulary industry or industry interests, chemicals industry, agribusiness industry, I don't know, or if it's coming through university partnerships is what it sort of seems like. There are these efforts that are being organized and disseminated through universities under this guise of science communication that people, scientists, need to go out and educate the public who are misinformed on what science actually means. They just leave very, very little room for nuance and a much more holistic conversation among very smart people who are perfectly capable of looking at a mountain of evidence on any side and making a decision that works for themselves. So what I feel EcoWell is trying to do is pull people away from, and basically by beating them over the head with what she is saying is a determined and final decree on science in cosmetics formulary, but also, you know, she's pro-GMO, pro-pesticide, pro-glyphosate, you know, these things that are like truly insane. I think it needs to be called out what's happening, and it's part of a much broader dynamic, obviously, that's going on in the world right now. You know, if you don't believe this, then you don't believe in science, which is just absolutely ludicrous. The science is far from being settled on parabens or many of these ingredients. These accounts in the Sci community basically mock something like the precautionary principle. They're pro-GMO under this really false and harmful agenda that it's helping to feed the world population, which is completely false. Modern day famines, I will keep saying this, modern day famines are not the result of production deficiencies. They are economic and political. It's just really mind-blowing. And so at the end of the day, I've come to see Josh as someone that is a businessman, could be potentially setting the stage, priming the pump, you could say, to potentially include parabens in some of his products, probably his hair care if he were going to, but he might not. It just seems like that's something to be aware of, and if he does, I have zero problem with that. I am not an ingredient purist whatsoever. You probably know that about me. I still have NARS lipsticks that I use. I still use like Aveda shampoo. I have some Orbe hair care. For me, it's not really about that. It's just about transparency. helping people to know when there's an agenda or a form of subtle manipulation in place. And, you know, everybody really needs to have access to as much information as possible to make decisions that work for them. It's just, it would start to jeopardize his relationships with retailers that have a stance against that. So he's in this bit of a pickle, it seems. And I just think we need to be open about what's going on and talk about it. And I'm totally acknowledging that people are probably going to come after me for this, but I'm just, you know, like, I'm just kind of tired of being quiet and talking about it in private. I think I'm ready to start calling out these agendas. What I did on Josh's post is kind of out of character for me. It's like, and I've also been very, very wrapped up in intensively parenting a baby for the last almost 2 years now, so I just haven't had the bandwidth to take a lot of that on. But I feel more and more that those of us that have a voice need to speak up when we see things like this happening, and people can make their own decisions. You know, it's not coming from a place of personal attack or don't buy his products or I don't like him. It's not even personal like that. It's like the agenda that's there that I can't stand by and just say like, okay, like just usher that in and no problem. Like, no, I'm not gonna do that. So it was important to me to get that off my chest, and there really was kind of no better time than this box coming. It was actually really funny timing because I had that unfortunate exchange with Josh, and then I found out that he was gonna be in Beauty Heroes, and I was like, oh man, what am I to do? But I think it's actually a good opportunity to just talk really openly and honestly as respectfully as I can, because I think that Josh makes great products. I think he's a talented formulator. I think interpersonally he's been displaying problematic behavior from what I've seen, and maybe we can just leave it there. Let me know if you have questions. I'll be curious to hear what you think about the products or kind of this broader discussion about what's been going on. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your time here watching. If you'd like to see more of my work, you can always go to patreon.com/LamourMusique. That also helps support the production of my work, my podcast, my videos. Yeah, I'll have more updates on that coming soon. I've been thinking of starting to provide transcripts for my podcast episodes, which would be another kind of investment to make. And then I'm also thinking of creative ways to bring really niche, specialized content to people that are interested. For example, I really want to do a series of at-home patisserie videos, and it doesn't have as universal appeal on L'Amour as something like a skincare video, but there are people that are really interested in seeing something like that. So I'm trying to think of a way that I could invest and deliver that kind of work. I've been researching different models to get that kind of work supported, essentially. So please stay tuned. I'm always working very hard and late into the night behind the scenes. All the information you need, links, everything will be down below in the description bar. I'm assuming at the time you're seeing this, this box will be sold out, but I'll try and be back sooner in the month of September to review that box if people are looking to resubscribe. All right, guys, thank you so much, and I'll be back soon, I hope. Watch it be another month, but hopefully I'll be back in a week or two, and I think the next video is going to be something around Earthwise, probably a review of the 5 oils that they do in the range. All right, guys, take care, and I'll see you soon.